We received one question about how do you talk with a climate denier about climate change, and I was glad to see that question because this is something I've been thinking about quite a lot. Back in the day, I did training in nonviolent communication. I've taught courses in communicating across differences around other issues, and so this is something I've certainly been thinking about. So there's a few things I want to say. First, there is a portion of the population that is not open to having their mind changed. According to the good folks over at the Yale Center for Climate Change Communication, that's about 7% of the people who just are dismissive of the notion that human-caused climate change is real and needs to be dealt with. But that leaves 93% of the people who are open to some level of conversation. One of the other things I learned recently, though, is that the likelihood that somebody is going to accept arguments from scientists about climate change has less to do with their education level than with their political identity. So you may have very well-educated people who, because of their political affiliations, are not willing to accept the notion that humans have caused climate change and that requires drastic actions on our part. So that complicates things a little bit, but it doesn't mean that we can't have useful conversations with them. So let me tell you very quickly what doesn't work. You're probably not going to convince most of those people with facts or figures or doomsday scenarios. If what you're talking about creates in them even an implicit sense of guilt, that it's the way they're living their lives that is responsible for the crisis we're in right now, they're very likely to shut down. Any kind of behavior shaming doesn't work well, in the same way that it doesn't work well to be perceived as engaging in virtue signaling. Well, here's what I do, that sort of thing. So we have to be very conscious of all of the ways in which we might be able to turn somebody off. But then there are conversations that can emerge. Fortunately, there's a book that just came out this past year by a climate scientist, Katharine Hayhoe. It's called Saving Us. And in addition to being a climate scientist, Katharine Hayhoe also comes from an evangelical Christian background. So she has these kinds of conversations all the time with people in her community. It's a very useful book, and I certainly suggest that you get it. But her suggestion is that we start by finding some common ground with the person that we're talking about. It doesn't have to be about the weather, although weather is not a bad place to start, but a place that you both come from, something that you both love doing, people that you have in common, and build that sense of connection to start the conversation, and then move from there. And I'm moving away from Katharine Hayhoe a little bit to my own approach, which is to be able at some point to talk about the things that I'm doing, that I'm involved in, without suggesting that the person I'm talking to is ought to be ashamed for not doing something similar. So you don't have to agree that humans are the cause of climate disruption, even though the scientists do, in order to say, well, boy, you look at these last 2 years, there's some very clear data about the impacts of warming temperatures on the planet. Now, once you get into the place where you're saying, and this is because of the way that we live our lives on a daily basis, well, that may be true, and that may impact you personally. But again, you're pointing the finger and saying, you need to change the way that you live, and that just shuts people down. So instead, to talk about, yeah, now that we're dealing with these hotter temperatures, it poses different kinds of problems for us, and those problems might be finding places for people to get out of the heat on really hot days, to think about planning. How do we plan housing developments in an age where wildfires are so rampant in the West right now, and to have these interesting conversations about how do we begin to make different choices about our communities moving forward. I actually found in my conversations with some political leaders in a particular community that even the term climate change is now a red flag. It signals a political affiliation. So rather than talking about sustainable choices to help get us out of the age of a climate crisis, I began to talk about quality of life. What are the things that we can do to enhance the quality of life for everybody in this community? And to me, that feels like a way to move forward without raising the defenses that people feel.